Welcome back, everyone, to In Detail from GA Plus. And as always, I'm joined by Aaron Kernan, and we're going to look back over the weekend's football matches, the All Ireland quarterfinals in Croke Park. And there's a lot to talk about, I think, across the 2 days. Lots of surprises. Aaron, first and foremost, how are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Starting to get life back on track after a disappointing few days. Michael, probably the same with yourselves, but yeah, it was obviously we had a good day out on Saturday in terms of it was the final GA Plus show of the season, and yeah, even regardless of results, still it was just a brilliant weekend to be around Croke Park, just in terms of the atmosphere and probably just old school feel about it. Just the excitement that there was, even particularly Sunday. Both of our teams were playing, but just there was huge excitement, and obviously the weather added to it Sunday morning. So, uh, brilliant weekend's football, plenty to chat about, and we will do our best to come up with some
Yeah.
detail over the next half hour or so.
And there's been lots of chat already by the nature of some of the way the results went, and maybe to some people there mightn't have been any surprises, but I think when I throw my mind back to this day last week, like a lot of people, we suppose went with the safe bets across the weekend, and we saw what happened there, but. Yeah, it was like 60,000. Saturday I think was a 70 on Sunday for quarterfinals is massive. And thinking of the wins for some of the teams in particular, Meath and maybe Tyrone, and what that's going to do for them and their support coming into the semi-finals. They're really going to be back at it in a big way. Not to mention the other two. The probably the two favourites now, Kerry and Donegal, and how they'll like the way it's opened up for them with some of the so-called bigger teams getting knocked out. So yeah, we're in for a treat with the couple of semi-finals ahead as well, I feel. But before that, I suppose, just when I look back over the weekend, and it was a feature, something I was looking forward to see how it would play out was the role of the two-pointer. And it was something Killian O'Connor referenced as well on Saturday night on the coverage on GA Plus. So just over the 28 games that we saw in the group, so there was 24 games in the groups, and then there was the 4 preliminary quarterfinals. So across that, there was, where am I going to here? We had about, give or take, 150 two-pointers scored. So that was about just under 5.5 two-pointers in every game were scored. So I was interested to see, would we have the same rate of return in Croke Park over the weekend? Or, it is very different kicking into Croke Park with Canal End on one side and Hill 16 on the other. Provincial grounds, as we know, are a bit more open to the elements, and you can have a very strong breeze, making it quite easy to score a two-pointer into one end. But I know it's a very small sample size as well, but from what I saw there over the weekend, there was 24 two-pointers kicked as well. So that's an average of 6 in each game. So if anything, the rates went up ever so slightly, and I probably would have thought before I looked at it that you might be scoring less two-pointers in Croke Park than around the provincial grounds. But I suppose the flip side of that is we have the better teams now getting to Croke Park and the better players. So maybe my expectation was wrong, that maybe we're going to see them go the other way. But in any case, we saw really exceptional scores over the weekend. And just to highlight a few here, we see this is very early on, the second minute of the Dublin Tyrone game. And it's just a little bit of quick thinking from McCurry. We have Kieran McGeary here just unmarked on the 45. Dublin have plenty cover. They're just kind of walking to their men, but a little bit of quick thinking. Dublin are just caught napping really, which should never happen, but can happen maybe if any time. It can happen early in a game. So little quick thinking, the pop pass just to require distance, and that was a great score. And we saw, looking at that game, it was their two-pointers in the first half. That really was the difference here. So in this instance, there's not just one option to kick for the two. There's two really good options here that Tyrone have. Dublin are far too deep inside the arc. Again, this is maybe 5th or 6th minute in, and it's a massive two-pointer at a key stage in the game. So just to finish off the last one, like the time was up here, but I just thought we're going to see Niall Morgan is going to get this chance again the next year. You can be sure, and it's not an easy kick now. I know the game is won, but just the flight of the ball as he just draws it in, into the Hill 16, it was a sweet score, and I felt it was worth popping that in. Jumping on just to the other game on Saturday was Monaghan Donegal, and here we have Kieran Thompson on his marker, and everything is good here. He's been tracked inside the arc, and it's just how this develops and the awareness from Thompson as he loops around for that ball, as so many good inside forwards will, and he's going to get a shot away. He's separated from his player, and more importantly, he has the safety of the two players that he's looping around to give him that extra yard. He knows he can't get closed down straight away, and it's a perfect score. So that's just really smart play. Donegal, I think Donegal were the most efficient. They had 3 shots at 2-pointers and they scored all 3.
Yeah, that was really slick from Thompson there. Like, he knew exactly what he was trying to do in terms of manipulating that there. That wee bit of separation, quick step away from his man, brilliant score.
Yeah. And just the final one in the package is Sean O'Shea, because he shot the lights out at key stages in the game. Just that willingness to back himself and maybe, take the game to Armagh. But that's into Hill 16 again. Now, Sunday conditions were probably even better Sunday than Saturday. But, Kerry, I think, landed 5 over the weekend. That's massive when you have those players that can do them into either end. And the point I'll make just to wrap it up is, fewer teams, based on the weekend, fewer shots are taken on into the Hill 16 versus Canal End. But the conversion rate isn't too different. There was 8 scored out of 19 into the Hill 16. That's about 42%, and the rest 16 from 30-31. 52%. So it's not that teams aren't shooting into the Hill 16, but they're certainly a little bit more cautious with it, and it probably is a little bit more unpredictable to kick into with the openness. And just sometimes you look at the flags and one is going one way and one is going the other way. So it's tricky, but it can be done.
Yeah, the wind just cuts across the front of the hill where the stand is in there. So it is, it's something that I think the longer this goes on, the more patterns of play or you run off somebody, that will certainly enhance. And I suppose it leads me perfectly on to, we'll maybe describe a bit of passiveness in terms of Donegal in the first half. Like we previously mentioned, going into the game, you had Monaghan who hit 22 pointers so far in the championship to date. Just really good at manipulating it. Done the same against Donegal earlier in the Ulster Championship. And I suppose just as we look through a couple of the clips here, again, we had highlighted last week how keen Donegal are to get that +1 inside the arc. They're there and ready to double up should anyone get stepped. There's always that bit of defensive cover, really to do away with goal threat. But what Monaghan, like we mentioned, have been really good at. You can see top left-hand corner of the screen, Andrew Woods takes himself wide, and the play has switched from the Hogan stand side across. But Donegal, we'll see some clips of Meath being really good at it. Donegal just couldn't get that extra +1 out in time in order to get the block on. But just another quick glance over that one there. What really makes it is Ryan McGillespie. He takes the ball in to engage the last defender who's nearest to him, and that frees up that wee bit more space and separation. Again, just a slight wee bit off in terms of where Donegal were here. You have Monaghan going for the 4-4-4 press everywhere, and Shane O'Donnell just takes 2 or 3 steps to his left-hand side, just as Sean Patton is taking his run up. And because of the wet and the slippery surface, ball hits the ground, and it just skids a couple of yards to his right. But what really impressed me, similar to Armagh out there this weekend, is how willing teams are to punish you immediately. Stephen O'Hanlon gets the ball straight to Bannigan, no let up. You have a couple of seconds where the opportunity is here to really punish a team. And again, now the hooter has just gone. This is the last play of the game. Keep an eye on Kieran Thompson as well. He's acting as the +1 inside here. But watch Brendan McCole. McCole's tracking Andrew Woods, and he says, instead of me going out, follow him, Kieran. He's after 2 2-pointers, but they still want a +1 inside the arc. Now, in doing so, Thompson starts to go out after him, but an absolute insane effort by Rory Beggan off the outside of the boot that ends up 115 to 11 points at half time in Monaghan's favour. And you're wondering, have we seen a crisis here? Are Donegal flat? Has the long campaign really caught up in them? And I think they answered that one emphatically in the second half, that the answer was no. And their turnaround was not short of incredible. Not surprising whenever you know really how meticulous they are in their plan and the quality of players that they have. But to be fair, Monaghan done so much right in that first half. That's just a few wee snippets of stuff that they would have liked to have done to manipulate. Like they were going after the Donegal kicker. There's a risk with that, of course, because Patton can put the ball over the top and you can be left in one-on-one situations. But they were brave in what they did, and it paid off. But I think we'll look at a few clips here.
Yeah, part of the turnaround, when as you move on, Aaron, before you do, and I think maybe Patton was central to that. He got a few more kickouts off his big kickouts that just got them off up the field like we expect. And whether it's Donegal obviously made their own changes to what they were trying to do, and they upped their maybe tempo and tenacity, or is it that Monaghan maybe just fell off a little bit as well and couldn't bring the energy that they had to do what they did in the first half? But we'll see in the next few clips here as to what Donegal did to go on, and like as you said, they went from being this score at halftime to running away with it.
Yeah, like they conceded 115 in the first half. They scored 115 in the second half. But our point is that it wasn't just going forward. The big improvement was it was everywhere. It was all across the field. First thing we're going to look at here is this is exactly what Donegal tried to do. Long booming, begging kick out. But look at the scramble from Donegal. He's a one-on-one straight away with Stephen O'Hanlon. But all the Donegal players are thinking is sprint, essentially. Not jog, not walk, not feel like that's a lost cause. Get back goal side as quickly as possible, and happy enough to give away that their point, because this is stuff that they work on. And it's just a great example of what you need to do in terms of getting back to clog that central channel. And again, this is them really at themselves. You see Micheál McCarville, Monaghan, slightly different than Donegal. They will come outside the arc. They do like to go man to man, but they had already stopped Donegal going in along the Cusack stand side. Donegal switches quickly, and just Shane O'Donnell turns on the burners, doesn't give Micheál McCarville that opportunity to get across, that everybody is matched up one-on-one. And to be fair to him, that's actually the turn of the game for me in terms of what he does there, because he absolutely ripped into the game. Too often the first half, he was willing to lay it off. That time he went for it. This pop pass inside from Michael Langan, to me, it's just something different from him again. It might seem very simple and simplistic in terms of why wouldn't you foot pass the ball to Michael Murphy, but they don't do it a huge amount. But in doing so, they end up with 3 Monaghan players back there, and they're in a good position. But because it's a foot pass and it's not ran, Murphy's hands is good, hand pass is slick. Now, in fairness, Dylan Byrne will be disappointed that he doesn't at least get Langan's step. But as soon as he pops the ball, he knows exactly what he wants here. You'll see he's direct straight away. What a shimmy for a big man, and fortress outside the 14, head down, and absolutely rifles it into the back of the net. But again, just
on that, Aaron. Sorry, what the point I'd make is Langan is running at him. Like, he hasn't you've no hope when you're flat-footed. Someone's coming at you at that pace. It's just all on him. All he needs to do is make that movement to carry himself past you, and the finish was exceptional.
But it's the fact that he foot passed it and it allowed him to carry on at pace. It wasn't this slow. Yeah, it wasn't this slow build up. He knew what he was doing. He knew a score had to come. He knew they needed a goal fairly quickly, and he went and delivered himself. This is later on in the game as well, but it's something that I just really want to highlight. Now, in fairness, Monaghan, brilliant pick up in Murphy. Monaghan are really going after to get the swarm. But instead of Kieran Moore being safe and going to his left-hand side roll, the space is head up, foot pass again, and look what it affords straight away. One-on-one situation. Lewis Kelly had absolutely no chance of getting McBrearty stopped, turning on to his left. And that's them really, really at themselves. And that was just for the duration of the second half. And again, what stood out for me with that one there is an awful lot of what we see is Donegal. They like to control getting the ball up in their half, and then they like to control the scores where they're constantly moving the ball, different running angles, and they're happy to get inside the arc and clip points. Those last two in particular really stood out because of how easy it was. They ended up to get 1-1 off them, but it was just that wee dimension. And by kicking the odd time, even if it is only odd time, as a defender, it makes you start to think and wonder, well, will I step in front of him? Then maybe you can go long over the top. If you stand back in behind him, you're available for the wee pop pass in front, where that's a fist pass or a foot pass. So that bit of variety certainly made a huge, huge difference to how Donegal turned that scoreline around to end up winning 120 to 126.
And maybe it's a bit of good luck for Donegal that they had to come out and chase the game in the way that they did, with no safety nets. It was knockout, and maybe that's why they ended up just a little bit more, looking to kick those balls, and they certainly got their rewards for doing that. So it'll be interesting to see as they have it in their locker. I suppose we know that, everyone knows that now. But what to expect from the next day out? Will it be, will they try and play it like we've seen more of through the year, like you said, working it up and those angles of running and those crisscrossing around the arc, and they're good at that too. But they certainly showed us the last day that they have the capability to kick ball, and that's just another feature that makes them such a difficult opponent. And as we look onto Sunday, I suppose the match is on Sunday, and for me it was looking at Kerry and Armagh. And when we look at the clips later, one of the things is Kerry's willingness to kick the ball as well, and it's their willingness to show hard in the inside line to be able to receive that pass. A lot of the talk, was just on what they did to Tyrone, to Armagh on kickouts. They had huge success on their own kickouts. They had huge success on Armagh's kickouts, and there was a lot of coverage on that Sunday game. Looked at it in detail over the weekend, and it was just phenomenal. But I suppose more than anything, it was the energy that Kerry brought, and I suppose they were being questioned, and everyone was tipping Armagh, and just I suppose it was set up lovely for. I don't think you can ever call Kerry an underdog, but to come in as an underdog,
it's rare.
It's rare. And it won't happen again for the rest of this year, I have a feeling. But they just played it exceptionally well. And if when I looked at that game, I suppose just looking for little signs, little telltale signs, and when I look back over it, there was a couple of clips in my mind early in the match that I thought, yeah, this is just something wouldn't be expecting to see. And when we roll them here, the first one, the early in the half, and Armagh attacking are in control, and there's no pressure on whatsoever, and there's a pop pass coming across the Jarlio, and that has to land into his lap, and it lands into his lap, and he is through, and it's a score. But it's just that sloppy, it's that careless that it's in front, the club coaches and the underage coaches, if they saw that happening in training, they'd be stopping and correcting. Not a fumble again after that, but just that wasn't what we expected. And here we had that's a beautiful pass that Reen has kicked, right? But watch Jason Foley, who's marking him at this stage in the game, and what he does to make up that ground to turn over this ball. And again, that was just something, that hunger and desire and willingness to do that. And they were just those little telltale signs, to see of maybe what to expect. A small bit on the kick out again. This is again early in the game, first half. So they've got their 4 up. We can just see two Armagh inside, but there's a big press on here. And while Kerry don't turn it over, they make it very, very difficult for Armagh to get out in this case. And it was just what they were doing. Okay. And this one, we may have seen, came up in the Sunday game as well, and I wanted to look at it for a different perspective, but it's very predictable, which isn't usually the case for Armagh kick out. There's very little movement, but they have shipped maybe 10, 11 scores in a row here, so they're under serious pressure. He's just going route one, and it's just a little bit of luck, I suppose, as much as anything else, but Graham O'Sullivan picking it up, and it's not even in his hand properly, and he is looking. And the next thing you know what's coming here. And the ball goes down the line. Clifford is out in front. And just that willingness to move the ball through the foot, like it's still a huge amount of work to do here. Being tightly marked, like there's not many who score that, but that is just amazing.
But the one thing with that, Michael, is the way the ball's played. David runs onto the ball. You know, it's not dropped to his inside. It's played to his advantage. He doesn't need a break stride. So absolutely a textbook pass from Graham O'Sullivan. And that's because David doesn't need a break stride. He can take his man on, knowing I'm going to cut back at whatever stage. Two covering defenders, and they just can't get in quick enough. Brilliant score. Incredible from him.
Yeah, and like just that feature, the moving the ball and through the foot, and that willingness just to make the hard runs to pick it up. And the last clip here, just something as well that stood out to me, and just in terms of how much Kerry were in tune with one another and they stuck to their plan. But there's great movement here from them to pick up the kick out, and they're away. Okay, and what we have then is just, again, when the ball comes across, it's been moved, albeit by foot, you know, a solo one, but it's moved at pace, and then Brina Biogli just with a direct ball to the inside line, again, just moving the point of attack. Mark O'Shea then, just for me here, really makes this. He gets out of dodge. He knows the ball is going to be picked up here. He doesn't want to be in the way of maybe taking up space, so he draws his man in with him as well. But he's going to play a role in this in a second, because you want to leave space for Clifford and the lads to do their damage. And he just very, very patiently waits, gives a chance to the lads who have the ball in their hand to go one-on-one with their man and back themselves. And all day they've been doing that. In the end, he picks the ball up here. But he'll dummy right and turn on to his left here. But like everyone else, he could have chipped in and got a score. They're maybe 9-10 points up here. He could have said, it's my turn now. But he knows, he hears the call, he gives it to the shooter. And for me, that is just discipline. It's just getting it right. And it's such a small thing. But to me, when you have that across the collective, you know, players that start, players that come on, when they are bought in fully. And to me, that's a good example of it late in the game, when the game is probably over at that stage. I love to see that. That's a great sign.
There's a few times in your life when you just feel like everyone's in this flow state where it's just happening. You're not taking the extra touch. You're not, you know, trying a complicated pass. You're just doing everything that you set out to do. And that might again seem very simplistic what Mark O'Shea does there, but so simple, so effective. He knows I could turn and swing one wide, not really going to come off it. He knows David Clifford. You can just see him making that angle run around him. Held him up really well, just played it into his pad, clipped it over the bar. So yeah, that was at the stage whenever they were just in their absolute pomp. Everything was flowing for them, but because everyone was willing to do the simple things well for each other, that's what the big difference was.
Yeah, it was a remarkable performance, really, second half in particular. Just the consistency of the scores and the dominance, and you know, they deserve a huge amount of credit.
They do, but as impressive as they were, I have to say, by sitting and looking back again at Meath, and again just trying to put into context where Meath have come from, you know, where they weren't on the radar at all last year. Disappointed they didn't get promoted from Division 2. Then another bit of disappointment losing the Leinster final. But it's just the improvement in everything that they're doing since the Leinster final that, to me, I think you have to give credit for it. So what we're going to try and look at here is a bit of in terms of how they attack, but also how they defend and the improvements across the board. And really ahead of the game in terms of even what some other teams are doing. But something we highlighted that they did really well against Kerry, and it's the same thing here. The speed that they want to get the ball into the opposition half. It was Sean Rafferty against Kerry carrying it. This time he does it against Galway. Now you look at the pace that he carries that ball with. Now Owen Flynn gets his head up. Now terrific movement inside by Jordan Morris. But there's only two players inside the opposition 40-metre arc. And that all happens because you can see Galway bodies there. But it's the speed that Rafferty attacks it. It's the depth and the coaching that Morris has been encouraged to do in terms of staying inside. And then obviously Sean Coffey comes off the shoulder, could possibly end up getting a goal. So a huge positive in what they've done there. This one here again, now this is really good scramble defence. Maybe a wee bit fortunate, Seamus Lavin probably buys that one well. Peter Cook probably didn't need to rush in as much as what he did. But again, same thing, slight variation to what they're going to do now. So instead of actually carrying the ball at pace, he's telling Matthew Costello straight away, there's someone free ahead of you. This is the angle I was sitting looking at this here from our seat in the Davin stand on Sunday evening. Costello takes his 2 plays, unbelievable pass off the outside of his boot. But look what it leaves you again then. It's your one-on-one situation down along the sideline here, and Rory Kinsella takes his man on and clips the ball over the bar. So just really, really slick and composed transition in terms of what they do with the ball. But this is a huge difference now in terms of we look at what Armagh did. Armagh were very keen to defend the 40-metre arc. Donegal quite similar, don't want to come outside it. Meath defend very narrow in terms of their centrally, but they've no problem in pushing out high. So they have clearly identified your 2 main men. I would have thought straight away in these types of plays here, it's going to be Thompson, it's going to be Walsh. They're looking to get these 2-point efforts off here, but it's Meath's willingness to keep tracking well outside the 40-metre arc. And in fairness to Galway, they're not switching it with slow pedestrian hand passing. They're switching it with the feet. But you see straight away, Conor Duke, now he's coming outside the 40-metre arc. Owen Frayne is pressing across again here. And what I really want to highlight here is the difference. They're not giving up any free shots, 2-point shots at all here. They know who they have to identify. You've seen Caulfield, he's doing a handover there with Sean Rafferty instead of having to track Walsh, handing him back over again. You can see it at the top of the screen. But this is another massive improvement. Craig Lennon gets the ball in this situation in the Leinster final. He goes straight past 2 Meath players, sticks the ball into the top corner and gives Louth a whole new lease of life. Again, same thing. Look at Louth or Meath's willingness to plug up the central channel, to make contact, and that's what then allows them to force that turnover and then break the other end of the field. And the final thing I want to look at here is keep an eye on Jordan Morris, bottom left-hand corner. He could follow his man and head on his left-hand side now out to the far side, but they're going on a zonal press. This is something that they're talking about doing all year. You're working on these things night after night, and it comes off. Now he has the opportunity to track his man one-on-one and an absolute textbook tackle. But my point here is they're 2 points down. There's 10 minutes to go. They're not sitting back wondering, let's force this long and maybe we might get a break. They manipulate this. They wanted to go short into the corner, and then it's what's the next part of the plan. And that's exactly what they do. They go man to man. Sean Coffey ends up pushing in. Now, I'm not sure Jordan Morris would have realised he was going to get such a textbook tackle, but that's not even the end of it. It's a quick hand pass to Costello, and then how selfless he is to draw Gleeson. Quick pop pass back to Jordan Morris, puts it in the back of the net. Cathal Hickey scores a point straight after it, and all of that comes from, that is talked about, that's walked through, that's then done with intensity, and whenever stuff like that there comes off in a championship game for you, you couldn't bottle the confidence that it can give you. So the old Delboy saying, he who dares wins, they press up, they go for it. They didn't want to sit back and be gallant losers, and we just come up short by a point. Didn't we do really well pushing this great Galway team? They went after it, and that's why they ended up getting the win. So, yeah, incredible performance and incredible improvement in every aspect of Meath's play, and certainly they're a team that I've no doubt are going to have a big say not only in this championship, but we're going to be seeing plenty of the Royals and that traditional grit, but that bit of swagger that they have up front as well.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's difficult in Galway. We're very disappointed.
Sorry.
But, no. It's the way it goes, But yeah, they were good. They were good value for it, and they will really I suppose I think when Aaron, when you and me were in short pants, we were watching the Meath team certainly in the 90s and even before that. But they were just a massive county in terms of Sam Maguire, and I think that sort of a win and put that on the back of beating Dublin and beating Kerry in whatever way you want to, but that's what they've done now. So, and they will be a dangerous force in the All-Ireland semi-final. There will be great crack up on Meath, in the run up to the next semi-final in 2 weeks. And yeah, they're in a great position. They'll obviously go in as underdogs, but they'll they're not going to back away from it. So it kind of sets up that fixture, and I think Tyrone and Kerry is a massive fixture as well. So that's probably they're the next games we're going to be looking at. Everyone, it's hurling only this weekend, so you'll see us after the All Ireland football semi-finals. So between now and then, take care, and we'll talk to you then.